My phone keeps on autocorrecting librarians to libertarians, and I don't know how to make it stop. Oh my gosh.
There may be a few.
Yeah, crossover is. That's funny. All right, and so everybody, just so you know, we are going to record this webinar. We're going to make it available to the general public as well. So if you do have to jump off at some point, don't worry, you can catch back up. Hey, Katie, it's good to see you. Katie is one of our NASA at My Library members that runs the bookmobile in Lincoln County. You're in Lyman or Limon, right, Katie? Hello, Barbara. Awesome. All right, I'm glad the title sounded interesting. Awesome. Lyman. I'll have to.
Lyman?
Lyman? Yeah, I think it's Lyman. Awesome. Well, it's good to see you, Katie. And I guess with that, we'll go ahead and get started. It's 12:59, and we've got quite a jam-packed agenda for today. So for those of you just logging on, I'll give you a quick little, just some housekeeping things. First and foremost, feel free to mess with the speaker view or with the PowerPoint view. You can adjust some of that. You can make your speakers appear differently. You can highlight a certain speaker or all of us. You can't really break it as long as you are not a panelist. So Dan, Robin, and Vivian, this doesn't apply to you all. But for everybody else, yeah, feel free to mess around with Zoom. We'll ask a poll question at some point. That'll probably come up in your toolbar. It's going to either be at the top or the bottom of your screen. But again, feel free to play around with it, and you're not going to mess anything up. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box, but there's actually a Q&A function, I believe. Let's see, do we have the Q? Yeah, the Q&A is right there by the polls button. So if you have a specific question, it might be better to put it in the Q&A, and that way we can make sure that we see it. So once again, if you're in the chat box, make sure that your messages are going to all panelists and attendees. I'll repeat that another 5 times throughout this webinar just to make sure. So yeah, make sure you're getting your message out to everybody. Let's see what else. Oh, Greg and or Claire, if you could go ahead and drop that link bank in the chat box one more time. So this is a PDF document that's going to have all the links that we're going to be talking about today. So that way, again, you don't have to furiously scribble down some URLs that have way too many letters in them and numbers. Awesome. So yeah, with that being said, any other housekeeping things you can think of?
No, I think we're ready to go.
At the end of the webinar, when I close it out, you'll be redirected to a survey that will then have your certificate of attendance. If at any point you're not able to get that survey, just let me know. You can email me directly and I'm happy to send it to you, or the certificate. All right, so we just want to do a really quick introduction to let everybody know who you're going to be talking to. So you've probably seen me on a webinar before. My name is Brooks Mitchell. We work in the professional development team here at the Space Science Institute, and we run the STAR Library Network.
I'm Claire Ratcliffe. I'm also here with the Space Science Institute, and I work on the professional development team.
We'll go over to Caroline.
Hi, I'm Caroline Nickerson. I'm from the SciStarter team, and I'm really excited to talk to you all about Citizen Science Month today.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Dan Stanton. I'm a librarian at Arizona State University and also a member of the SciStarter team.
And I'm Robin Salthouse from the Southeast Regional Library. I'm part of the Maricopa County Library District in Arizona. And I'm so happy I have this opportunity to share what we're doing at our library with you all.
Hi, I'm Vivian Burr from Los Angeles Public Library. I feel like I'm all the way in Pluto. I'm kind of far. I'm really far from the camera, but I'm very excited to be here and share our experience with the Citizen Science program here at Los Angeles Public Library.
All right, awesome. Well, we have an all-star lineup today, and it's always great when we can hear from some librarians and library staff that are actually on the ground practicing these things. Instead of us just telling you what we think works, you can hear from some people with firsthand experience. All right, so we're going to go over an agenda today. Really quickly, we're doing a little bit of an intro. We'll talk about our STEM Activity Clearinghouse. Some of you may have heard of it before, but we have almost 100 people on today, so some of you may not have heard of it. So we'll show you a few quick ways to use the STEM Activity Clearinghouse. Talk a little bit about what is citizen science. It's this buzzword that we're hearing a lot, but we kind of want to break that down a little bit. We're going to hear from Caroline at SciStarter, and then hear from our reps from Gilbert, Arizona, Los Angeles Public Library, go into the plans for Citizen Science Month 2020, have a wrap up and final discussion. I know I went through that really quickly, so just hang on to your seats. It's going to be a jam-packed day, and it'll all be very awesome. So I'm going to show you our STEM Activity Clearinghouse really quickly, and just some ways that you can find ideas related to citizen science on our STEM Activity Clearinghouse. For those of you that don't know, this is all free. Oh gosh, somebody was saying our audio is a little fuzzy. Can other people hear us okay?
I can hear you pretty well.
Okay, all right. If I do cut out at any point, just say in the chat box and we'll see if we can adjust. But anyway, our STEM Activity Clearinghouse is a free resource for all of you librarians and library staff that are doing STEM programming in your library. We have about 400?
Over 400.
Over 400 STEM activities or STEAM activities on there that are sources. So the idea, this happened actually before I joined StarNet about 3 years ago, but we were finding that library staff didn't have a great place to go for good vetted scientific-based activities that were also appropriate for a library setting. So we're saying, you know, not really tied in strictly to grade standards, not too formal, not so complex that you need a rocket scientist to teach the idea. So we started pulling good informal education activities from folks like NASA or the American Society of Civil Engineers. And we started putting them in one place, and it's really, really grown over the years. And now we have about 400 different activities. We do have some citizen science specific activities, but I would honestly recommend, if you're looking for a good citizen science project, I might visit our friends over at SciStarter, and we'll hear plenty of them, or plenty about their opportunities and their resources. You might check out the Clearinghouse for some activities that go really well alongside a citizen science project. So if you'll bear with me just really quickly, I'm going to pull up, let's see here, pull up screen share. Oh, there we go. All right, so you should be seeing our STEM Activity Clearinghouse in just a moment. You can get there through our Star Library Network website, or you can just go to clearinghouse.starnetlibraries.org. That link is in the link bank. It's another opportunity for us to drop the link bank in there. But this is what the homepage looks like, and we have, as you can see, a few different collections that we've specifically curated. If you're looking specifically for citizen science resources, you might go ahead and just click on this citizen science button. And that's going to give you a few different activities, a lot to do with the Globe Observer that we worked, program that we worked with closely, a lot of things with cloud cover. But I would actually recommend to you all to do just our general search function. So let's say you're doing an activity that is maybe about, I don't know, you're measuring light, or you're measuring like, you know, different temperatures or something like that. Really, I'm just trying to find a project to set myself up for the specific activity I'm looking for. But there's this fun activity called UV Kit, right? So let's say that we want something to do, let's say we're measuring the sun, or we're measuring the sun's output or something like that. We're looking at sunspots, type in sun. Let's see if UV Kit comes up. Yeah, great. So you can see we've kind of categorized everything here about what content areas it falls in, what age groups it would be good with. Not to say that you guys as talented librarians can adapt and make it work for whatever age group. Actually, I just did this for about 30 librarians at the conference I was at, and they loved it. So I think it's probably an adult activity too. Time to complete, cost associated with. And actually, when we click into it, we'll see we actually have some ratings. So some people will go and leave reviews for the activities, so you can read what other librarians have to say. So this is one from our one of our users. It's a fun, flexible activity, and then she's written some descriptions, some things that you can take away from that, so how you can adapt that activity. Once you actually open it up, it pulls you to a different link, the originating source. And we also, on our activities, oftentimes have how-to videos that'll show you how, I'm not going to actually play this one, but it'll show you how to facilitate the activity, just 2 or 3 minutes really quick. So a great resource. You can also, I'm just going to show you really quick, filter out our activities based on this little sidebar. So let's say you're doing an engineering activity, right? Maybe you have an engineer coming in to speak. Maybe there's some big local connection to engineering, and you want to do an activity based on that. So let's say we want to do engineering for teens, and we have 40 minutes to an hour. Really think you should give yourself a lot of time if you're doing the engineering design process. And let's say we wanted to have a how-to video because we're really, you know, not too comfortable. So that's going to give us this one specific activity, soft landing challenge, which is like a kind of an egg drop type style activity. So anyway, yeah, just a really cool, awesome resource. We're also always looking for feedback on it too. So if you use it and you're like, hey, this is nice, but I could really use this certain function, please email us. We're always evolving it to try and like make it as usable as possible for you all. So we hope that you will consult that when you are doing your citizen science programs in your library, and just when you're doing regular programs in your library, great resource to use. So let me pull back up our slides real quick. All right, and we want to go ahead and launch a poll question just to get a sense of our audience. So we'll give you guys, 30, 40 seconds to do this. The question is, what citizen science topics are you most interested in? And we actually pulled some of these topics from the SciStarter page, Caroline. All right, a little more than half of everybody has voted, so we'll give you about 15, 20 more seconds. All right, and we'll go ahead and launch this and share those results. So you can see ecology and the environment. Oh, I'm sorry, for some of you that didn't see, do you want us to type in? Yeah, so for some of you, a lot of you said the ecology and environment, so there's really real world connections that we're all experiencing. We're all hearing a lot about that stuff. That doesn't surprise me that really resonates with you all. Animals, astronomy and space, if you said that just because we're the Space Science Institute, thank you. Let's see, ocean, water, marine, and terrestrial. So yeah, a lot of really important things that affect us and affect your library patrons in their daily lives. I would encourage you all, as you're doing this, just citizen science is a great way to connect into those topics that your library patrons really, really, really care about and are passionate about. So I think it's a great way to get some involvement. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and we will go, I'm gonna turn things over to Claire for just a bit.
Yeah, so Dan is going to be covering this way more in depth later, so I just wanted to do a really brief intro into what is citizen science. It's something that anyone can participate. You don't have to be a scientist. This is for civilians and scientists alike to work together. But in different projects, all of the participants, again, whether you're a student, a scientist, a community member, you are all using the same protocols, just so you make sure the data that's collected is all in the same methods, the same measurements and things like that. The data retrieved helps scientists come to real conclusions. So it's a group of just everybody, a community getting together, collecting data, and then that will be analyzed later by scientists to help solve real world problems. And then it's, yeah, like I said, a wide community of people sharing data for the advancement of science and for the public benefit. So these are projects that you can do related to your interests, related to issues that your community faces. Every different community in different geographical regions are going to have their own sets of issues that's important to them. And so, yeah, you get to choose and work with your community and work with scientists. It's a lot of fun. And with that intro, we're going to do a really, really quick hands-on activity. This is something that, as Brooke said earlier, it's an activity that you can do alongside participating in a citizen science project. So this is building a rain gauge. It is basically free, minimal materials, but can have a big impact on data that's collected throughout your community. So you just need a straight-sided glass or plastic container, measuring spoons. You need 1 teaspoon and a 1/4 teaspoon, and then a permanent marker. And it's a very simple way to make something that's DIY, recycled materials that can help you collect data. So we are going to switch cameras so that you can kind of see up close what we're doing to create this.
All right, good.
All right. Okay, so as you can see here, I have my container. It should be about 2 inches in diameter. You don't want it much bigger than that, but it can certainly be taller than this. This is just something I grabbed from my kitchen that met the requirements. And you are going to mark off a cubic inch of rain. And the way that you do that is you're going to take 3.25 teaspoons of water. All right, so you're gonna take your measurement. So that's 1, 2, and
Claire, could you move that? Yeah, perfect.
awesome. So that's 3.25. All right. Then you're going to see how far up on your container the water is. 3.25 teaspoons equals approximately 1 cubic inch of water. So can't see this part, but I'm using my permanent marker to make a mark.
You'll spill water everywhere.
Yeah. So now I have my first little mark on my container here. I don't know if you guys can see. And I'm going to go ahead and write 1 inch. Okay. And you're going to just keep doing that over and over until you have at least 5 inches. And then there you have your rain gauge. You can put that out somewhere outside of your library. Make sure there's nothing covering it. And the next time it rains, see how much it has filled up. And that's your data. You collected the precipitation for a certain day. And you can go on to the Spotty Rain campaign and submit your data and be part of that citizen science project. So it's a really fun, quick, and easy thing. You can even have your patrons take some or make them and take them home, or you can make one for your library that you keep checking every single day. But yeah, very quick and easy and free activity that can tie into some really cool citizen science projects. And if you go to the next slide, I want to talk about this Spotty Rain campaign. They are offering webinars to talk about how you can do activities like this and get involved with collecting that data and submitting that data on their website. Their next webinar, and I highly suggest you guys, if you have time, check it out. It's free. They'll also record it so you can check it at another time. But the next one is November 22nd at noon Central Time. And if you register in advance, you could be eligible to win a $250 mini grant, which comes with an actual rain gauge, not a DIY one, but a very professionally made rain gauge that you can put at your library. And yeah, so check this out. It's on the link bank, but a super cool citizen science project to get involved with.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Claire. And I think that's going to be all you're going to hear from StarNet for now. We're going to get ready to turn things over to Dan and the rest of the SciStarter crew, and we'll be lingering in the chat box and available to answer any questions. So thanks for hearing us out, and yeah, just gonna go ahead and turn things over.
All right, thanks, Brooks. All right, let me share the screen, and we'll present. All right, Dan, take it away.
All right. So hi, everybody. I'm Dan Stanton, Arizona State University. I'm an academic librarian, and I have the pleasure of talking to you a little bit about what is citizen science and what has led to where we are today, leading up to Citizen Science Month. And, you know, I'm an academic librarian, but I don't have a science background. And about 4 years ago, I had no idea. I'd never heard of citizen science. So this is good for me to pass along, because if you've not heard of citizen science or aren't familiar with it, here's a little lesson. So citizen science is really kind of as Brooks had mentioned, it's kind of a fairly new term, but it's not really a new practice. Science prior to the 20th century really was often pursued by amateur or self-funded researchers. You know, you've got your big names like Benjamin Franklin, Sir Isaac Newton, not just old white men. We've got Mary Anning, who did paleontology in Great Britain, and Charles Darwin. So these are all folks who were kind of self-taught scientists. But in the mid-20th century, go back still, sorry, thanks. In the mid-20th century, science was dominated by researchers, universities, and labs. And so people have kind of had a disconnect from doing science. But in the 1970s, if you think about Earth Day, 1969, 1970, people started wanting to get more involved in things. And so we have this thing called citizen science, and definitions of what it is may vary somewhat. but common to everyone is that it's the ability of non-scientists to use science to gather and analyze data to address issues ranging from everything from biodiversity to clean air and water to Alzheimer's research. Next slide. So one of the great examples of citizen science in the past is William Whewell. And now you have to keep in mind that this is back in 1835. So this is way before cell phones, satellites, the internet. But he was interested in studying the tides. And so with the consent of the British Admiralty, Whewell coordinated thousands of people in 9 nations and colonies on both sides of the Atlantic in a synchronized measurement of tides. So at 650 different tidal stations, volunteers followed Whewell's instructions for measuring tides every 15 minutes around the clock during the same 2-week period in June of 1835. So that's pretty wild, but it actually is very similar to a lot of what we're doing with citizen science now. So it was called the Great Tide Experiment, and the folks who were conducting it weren't scientists. A lot of them were people who worked in dockyards. They were sailors, they were harbor masters, they were people who lived along the coast that were interested in doing this, in being a part of something bigger. So Whewell, another interesting note about him is he's kind of one of the first ones that kind of pushed for science to be a professional thing, and he coined the term scientist to distinguish it from, you know, those hobbyists. And unfortunately, he's the kind of guy, as you can see by the slide, who let all these people do all the work and took all the credit himself. So that's another thing citizen science hopes not to do, is we want to have you work with the scientists and share in the information and learn about it and share in the contributions. Next slide, please. There we go. And so, you know, nowadays, most of us enjoy science and nature, and especially if we're working in libraries, we know our communities quite well. But much of scientific research seems to be hidden away in universities or labs. But like Whewell, scientists need data. They need data from a lot of different places. They need data from different times, observations. They can't be everywhere at once. And even in this age of technology, scientists and people have the ability to distinguish subtle differences and nuances in data that computers can't. And that's another way that we can participate. Next slide, please. So libraries can connect regular people to real science they can do, and advance scientific research in the process. So this is another key point of citizen science in the STEM realm, is that people are not just learning about science or participating in science activities, they are actually contributing to real ongoing scientific research. Next, please. And someone you know may very well be a citizen scientist. There are lots of projects out there that have millions of people contributing data. As you can see there, eBird, water testing, SETI, home is kind of cool. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence is a citizen science project where they, you know, they're searching for signals from outer space and trying to distinguish what could be a communication from space noise. And that's something that people can get involved in. Next, please. So as Claire had mentioned about citizen science, common features of citizen science is really that anyone can participate, and that participants and professional scientists use the same processes, procedures, or protocols to make observations and then collect, share, and analyze the data so that it can be trusted and used. Data can help scientists and participants advance research and support decision making, and the public as well as scientists have access to and can use the data that they have collected. Next, please. So here's where we get into SciStarter. So SciStarter is an online community that is dedicated to improving the citizen science experience for both project managers and participants. They help connect people based on topics of interest if you're interested in doing it, or means of doing it. If you want to just do something online, you can do that. If something is in a very specific area, once you join SciStarter, project managers can put out a call for people in that area to come and participate in something. And as you will see by working with Caroline, there are lots of resources, including some very dedicated people. Next slide, please. And so at the SciStarter site, there's over 3,000 projects, and projects and events are searchable by location, by scientific topic, age level. There's some, if you're a teacher, there's some that you can search to see whether or not there's already curricular materials involved in that. And by joining SciStarter, you can track your contributions, and you can also provide valuable feedback to the research processes. Next, please. So why join SciStarter? So SciStarter, in addition to being able to track your contributions, it supports researchers in managing the projects, including best practices, making things work for the scientists and making things better for the participants. And so you can easily engage in a number of different projects across disciplines and platforms at the same time, keeping track of what you're doing. So GIS implementation, if you're new to an area and you want to find out if there's any projects in that area, you can pull up a map and do a radius around where you are to see if there are any project managers there, and get involved that way. And you can create your, all of your dashboard information, your participant information are privacy protected, and you have access to them, and you can get, like some of our other online services provide suggestions. It will provide suggestions to you based on projects that you have done, so you can keep going that way. Next, please. And here's a picture of kind of the dashboard. Here's that Caroline Nickerson person again. She's done 13 projects, and you can see kind of the information that's on there. And it's a cool place to have your history with citizen science projects in one place. Next, please. So SciStarter, when I met SciStarter founder Darlene Cavalier, who's a professor of practice at Arizona State University, about 4 years ago, and we started talking about citizen science, one of the things that she had mentioned was some of the barriers to participating in citizen science is that sometimes these projects require equipment or a tool that is not, something you're going to have run of the mill in your house, and so there's a cost barrier there. You may be interested in doing the Globe at Night project, measuring light pollution, but you're not that into it that you're going to go out and buy a $140 light, detailed light meter. Another issue is, you can find these things online and you can participate, but you often feel, maybe a sense of isolation. It's like, okay, well, I've submitted my things, I can see what I've done, but where am I in the bigger picture? And so that was the start of ASU and SciStarter working with public libraries to advance citizen science. And so this is where libraries come in, and we think it's a great fit. We thank the Institute for Museum and Library Services for funding our pilot project 2 years ago. And that's the project that we have in the Phoenix metropolitan area. And next slide, please. And so we have 6 libraries across what's called the Valley of the Sun in the Phoenix area. Phoenix is a big sprawling area, and you can see there the 2 farthest away, that's about 70 miles. And Robin's library is the little red one in the lower right there. But what we did is we went to the communities through working with the librarians. We went through the communities to find out what people's interest was. And then we kind of put together kits, and then we've been testing kits. And so we have 6 libraries and 5 different library systems. So you all as librarians know what a challenge that is. And that's been kind of the great part, is we have all worked together to make things work smoothly and easily for all of the libraries involved. And we've identified good established citizen science programs of interest, and we have tied them into what the libraries have already been doing. And that's where I get to turn it over to my rock star librarian colleague, Robin Salthouse, who will tell you about the reality of it.
Thanks, Dan. Yes, I'm at the Gilbert, Arizona Library. I'm part of one of 2 libraries participating in this project, part of the Maricopa County Library District. And what happened was we started getting together as a group and talking about, how can we promote this idea? And one of the first things we did was create posters and book displays, as you can see on this slide, to introduce the whole concept of Citizen Science Day. And on the left-hand side, you see a tree with some let us know information. So most of the libraries put this tree out in their library in 2018 and asked people to get engaged and, what kind of scientific information would you like? And ASU provided this really cute poster along with cute little leaf Post-it notes. So the next slide, please. And what happened, the other part of this was, let's bring our stakeholders, our community members, and find out what they're interested in. So each participating library had meetings saying, what is it that you're passionate about? What is it that we need to study and contribute data to? And we started off with 3 kits, and it was the upper right hand, which is part of, we call it biodiversity, which is such a huge issue nowadays. There's been lots of different major articles about, how biodiversity is disappearing in our world, on our planet. And so it combines with the app iNaturalist. And to make it more fun, we've included a kit with different lenses that can clip onto either tablets or phones, or you can even just bring your digital library. But it does require you to, after your SciStarter account, creating an iNaturalist account. And just go out, take a picture and upload it with or without the fun lenses. So even once you borrow our kit, you can do this without the lenses. You can just keep going. And I've actually done that. And what's really cool about this, I was in the LA area this past July, saw these little lizards running around the Will Rogers State Park, took a picture. And within a couple weeks, I found out it was a Western whiptail. Not only did it finally get expert recognition or verification, I had 4 projects pop up and say my observation was going to contribute to 4 different scientific research projects. So that was really cool. Who would have thought taking a picture of a lizard was that important to scientists? And then the second project we developed right off was the zombie hunting kit. And this involves hanging this little water bottle trap with an LED light out at night. And, people are very worried about their bees, and because they provide 40% of our food supply through their pollination. So you hang this trap out at night, and unfortunately, bees, mostly right now in the East and West coasts, are being affected or infected by these parasites. And it makes them act like moths. They're attracted to light at night, or they come out at night like zombies do. So we hang these out and we observe if the trap caught any bees, because these bees were out at night. Luckily in Arizona, and I tell people this, don't be worried if you don't catch a bee. That's good. We don't want the bees in our areas. We don't want the infection to come to Arizona. And then I paired this program up with a bee program provided by a agricultural researcher at the Arizona State University Polytechnical campus, and he's doing research on honey. So he came in with all sorts of props and information about bees, and then he also tied in why this research is so important. Then the third project we rolled out with was the light at night, which Dan explained is providing this light meter to measure light anywhere in your neighborhood when you're out camping, and immediately uploading that data point to the coordinating research project. And it's really popping up that Arizona, Phoenix area is contributing a lot of data points. And it's important it's done every year because of development in Arizona. What was once a great place to do night view skying is no longer, because a neighborhood with bright streetlights is there. It's also great if you're doing policy on installing lights around your town. This is what happens when you put bright lights in versus keeping things dark. And then the fourth project was this mapping streams up in the upper left-hand corner. And we're working with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. They want to know where water is standing for long periods of time, what we call washes or free-flowing streams. They don't have the staff to go out and do these data points. So they're asking us as citizen scientists to help them. The fifth project we came out with is a kit that allows people to borrow an air quality monitor. And some of our kits also have an Android phone with them, because you need an Android app to capture the data and upload it to the site. And in the middle picture, this illustrates how we're packaging our kits. And Vivian will show you a little different way to do it, but we found this was really good. Our libraries in the Maricopa County Library District like it. It's a convenient way to package the kits. In fact, at the beginning of next year, most of our 16, 17 branches will have some or all of these kits as part of their offering to their customers. Okay, next slide. And the other great thing that Arizona State University and SciStarter has done for us as libraries is provided just a huge amount of marketing material, and they've adjusted it with our needs. So we have these wonderful cards that you see here that fit in the sign holder you see on the right. At my library, which is a very large active library, I was finding people loved the cards so much they were taking them instead of taking the cards to the front desk saying, I want this kit to take out? Is it available? So to adjust for that, and just it's a great thing to have around when we're doing outreach or just talking to customers, is bookmarks. So we can give people bookmarks. This past week we were at our state conference, we were at a community event, and we could hand out these cards explaining the project. So they've done a great job, which is all open source, all available through you, to you through the SciStarter /library website. The sign was provided to us for free. Of course, other libraries may have to pay for that, but it's a great way to market these citizen science kits. Okay, next slide. And so again, you know, a couple years ago now, or a little over a year ago, we did participated in the Citizen Science Day, and it was around a project called, it was about looking at stalls in mice brains blood flow, and it was called Stall Catchers. It's kind of a gamified research project. And we really accelerated the research. It was done around the world. We logged into a video conference just like this, and we talked about how we were doing, how many participants we had. And again, it engaged our community to better understand what citizen science is all about. So we're hoping you'll join us for 2020 and be involved in a citizen science project in your community.
All right, and now we have Vivian from the LA Public Library. You ready? Thank you so much, Robin and Dan. Vivian, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right.
Hi again, I'm Vivian Bird, and I'm a librarian 3 and also the project lead for Los Angeles Public Library's STEAM and citizen science initiatives. So for Los Angeles Public Library, we name our citizen science program, or the pilot program, Neighborhood Science instead of Citizen Science. This pilot project was funded by California State Library's LSTA grant, and we start training our participating librarians last November and began piloting the neighborhood science programs in January this year. That was basically the first round that we did. We're currently in the process of preparing for the second round of the pilot, which we call it, can you click next? Neighborhood Science 2.0, or NASI 2.0. For a second round, we have a total of 16 Los Angeles Public Library branches and 5 Pasadena Public Library branches volunteered to participate in this round. And for this second round, we actually look into and create using a different approach for programming. And it's basically around the kits, just like what Robin shown earlier. So we have 2 types of kits to engage 2 different groups of participants. Next. The first type of kits is the facilitator's kit, or known as typical programming kit. And the second one is what we call do-it-yourself circulating kit. Next. For the facilitator's kit, it's basically for in-branch or school or community outreach programs, and they can either host by librarians or by your volunteers in the library. Each of these facilitators kit comes with 12 loanable or circulating sets for librarians or your volunteer who's hosting the program for you to encourage the participant to use the kit during the program to participate, and then they can check out the kit after the program and try it in their house, in their home. And we're hoping that when they come back to return the kit or the set, they can attend the subsequent sessions, so we can keep it. We can start an ongoing citizen science program or club in each of the branches. So at this point, all the facilitators kits are only available to attendees for the in-branch or outreach programs. Next. So here for our facilitators kit, we have 2 different topics. The first one is similar to Robin's. It's we're basically using the supply list coming from SciStarter. So that's why the content is very similar. The first one is exploring biodiversity with iNaturalist. We decide not to use the typical plastic boxes or things like that, because we're thinking about how to make it more portable and people would be more willing to take it with them. So so you can see that's the content. And the second one we're doing is the monitoring water quality with water surveyor kit. Next. I forgot to mention. So we actually have a third type of a third topic for the facilitators kit, and it's the monitoring air quality. We don't have the photo of the content at this point because we're working with the EPA right now, and they're building actually a brand new sensor for us that would work with iOS and Android. So we're waiting for the new prototype to arrive, and we're hoping to launch this program sometime between January and February next year. So now going forward for the DIY circulating kit, this is basically to capture patrons who prefer to do their own observations without attending a program. And what they do is they can just visit a branch and check out the kit on their own and do their own observation at their own time. Next. So for the DIY circulating kits, these are the topics that we have. The first one is the Globe at Night kit, which is similar to Robin's. The only difference is we add a GPS in there because most of these citizen science projects, they actually call for asking you to identify or input the accurate coordinates of your location. So we put a really small GPS in there. The second one is the monitoring water quality with M-Water Surveyor. That's exactly the same as the facilitators kit, but we create one extra so anyone can check them out without attending the program. Next. The third kit and the fourth kit, they're both ties to the Globe Observer app. The first one is clouds. We're using all the stuff that's coming from the Globe Observer website. You can find a supply list on there as well. It's probably the cheapest kit that you can create. Mosquito Habitat Mapper is another one also using Globe Observer kit. Same thing, the content, everything, the supply in there are very cheap to put together. Next. And then there is a fifth kit also, it's the air quality as well. We will have one that's for circulating, but again, I don't have the photo for it, so that's why we're skipping to the next. So now I'm going to quickly share with you our experience with doing a multi-session program at our branch, at one of the our piloting branch. And this actually took place in this past September. So originally I was just planning to do a series of a 4-session series at one of our branches. And my idea was to field test the 4 kits that I create, which has 4 different topics. So I'm planning a 4-session weekly neighborhood science program. And what happened was when I started introducing the mosquito habitat mapper, it actually, people were so fascinated by the topic, and there has been a huge increase of the spread of mosquitoes in California, especially in LA County. So that program really took off, and instead of having a 4-week session, I ended up having an 8-week series. Of the 8, 3 of them were practically just only doing mosquito habitat mapper. So what we did is in the first session, we talked about the life cycle and anatomy of the mosquito using books from the library, and also I found this really awesome PBS video. You can just YouTube it, and then it shows the 6 needles from a mosquito that's stuck into your under your skin and sucked the blood out of you. And the youngest audience we have, he was, I believe, second grade, and I thought he might be traumatized. Actually, he was completely fascinated by it. He's like, wow, I didn't know it had 6 needles. So from there, then we move on to talk about the mosquito habitats, the stagnant water, how mosquitoes just need even just few drops of water, they can use that to breed their, to lay their eggs. And we just went on and described about that. But we keep on focusing heavily on the 3 species that were found of mosquitoes that were found in LA County, which is the one that carries the Zika virus, malaria, and West Niles. And then, we did the one part, then we start talking about how to identify the larvae as well. Next. So then we move on. What I did is, so before the program is we create the traps on our own, and then we put it outside. This one, actually, these 3, I put it outside my backyard, about 3 days before my program. And I just brought them with me to the program, and I told kids, I said, hey, all my participants, I said, let's go ahead and use the tools from the kit I brought, and let's extract the water on a white paper plate, and let's take a look and see what we can find if we see any larvae in there. my fingers were crossing because I really don't want to see any larvae in there because they're from my backyard. So I brought out this $7.99 magnifier, coin magnifier I got from Amazon, and I clip it on a cell phone that I have. And basically the entire program just took off from there. The kids, they were just amazed by how clear that little magnifier could magnify the little, even just one little black dot they found in the water. And they just, from there, the program went on for 45 minutes to just keep on extracting water from that bottle and try to look at for different things. And they keep on asking me if those are larvae. And I said, larvae can't be that small. So it was just really interesting to see that. And parents who were originally sitting on the side swiping their phones asked me what we were doing again, and because they weren't really listening. So I told them about the Globe Observer app, and right away they went ahead and said, oh, can I download this? It's a free. So the 4 parents I have sitting in that room on that day, they all download that app and start playing with it. Then we did a very quick, like 10-minute, spend about 10 minutes to build a trap, and I asked them to take home with them. And I said, please, put the trap out a couple days before your program, before our next program, and if you can, bring it back, and then we can do another observation. I really wasn't expecting the kids going to do it, or they're going to remember bringing the trap back. But to my surprise, the second session, as soon as we started, the kids walk in with their trap, and there's like dots, all kinds of weird stuff in the water, and they smell really fishy because we use fish food as bait. And they were like, right away they want to do it, but I was like, no, we got to go back and kind of refresh some of the stuff that we talked about last week. So they were like totally engaged the whole time. So again, we asked them about, if you find any stagnant water in their neighborhood, and they were just sharing all their information. Basically the stuff that we taught them in the first session is stuck with them, and they were really out there looking for stagnant water, like, planters, from planters to even the bottle caps. Next. So this is showing that we were building the trap during the program. Next. So this is the beginning of the second session. We went out and tried to find, outside the library, we were trying to see if we can see any habitats. Next. And then, of course, we're looking at the stuff that's coming from the trap that they brought, and again, clip on my phone or the parents' phone. I really want to mention the lady in blue in the photo. She came up to me, and she actually, on the second session, she walked in. When she pulled out her new phone, and I looked at her, I said, "Oh, you have a brand new phone from Samsung." And she told me, she said, "Yeah, you wouldn't believe this. My son begged me to go get a new phone because my first phone, the phone I brought with me last week, it was really scratched, and then the picture came out really blurry." But she was really appreciative of us offering a program of such, because she's like, "I didn't know my son was so into mosquitoes and science." Next. So we've been thinking about the Global Citizen Science Month 2020, and there are a few things in our library system that we've been brainstorming. We have thought about, from hosting prototyping hackathon to using having citizen science programs using the kits that we created. But one thing I really want to mention to you all here, if you're a librarian and you're a young adult librarian, I know oftentimes you have very hard time to try to engage teens to come to your programs, especially when you label it citizen science or science. So what we found out is maybe you can try to offer a citizen science program using connected or gamified learning approach. So one thing that we've been thinking about is hosting a neighborhood science or citizen science gamathon or tournament to kick off the Global Citizen Science Month. And it will be a really good way to segue into an actual authentic citizen science project once the participants understand the extent of many pressing environmental or health issues through the games that they play. And on the list here, you see there's a few links. These are a really great resource for you if you're looking for games that are created specifically to raise awareness of many pressing environmental issues. They're all right here. Especially the Earth games is a great one. Planet Play for the Planet is great as well. My favorite is the Climate Trail. You could definitely try it. And most of them are free except the last one, Walden. That one costs money. And next slide, please. So that's my contact information. If you're interested in finding out more about our neighborhood science program or the kits that we create, feel free to contact me. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Vivian. And then now, everyone, I'm going to tell you how you can do work just like Robin and Vivian and Dan and activate your library as a hub for citizen science this April 2020 for Citizen Science Month. So you may be wondering, why have you all been referring to Citizen Science Day and why is it now a month? Well, the answer is it's too awesome just to fit into a day. People loved last time earlier this year in April 13th, 2019, that they felt like they were part of something bigger than themselves. They were all doing the same project, like Robin mentioned. Our featured project was stall catchers. So people were classifying blood vessels for Alzheimer's researchers, and we had a real research result, and people really liked that aspect, but they also wanted more options. They wanted more time. And we already saw people doing citizen science in April, so we thought Citizen Science Month, it just makes sense. It coincides with the anniversary of Earth Day. It coincides with the City Nature Challenge, which is a really popular event where people do this project called iNaturalist, which you've heard Robin and Vivian talk about, which anyone with a smartphone or camera can do. You just take pictures of living things and upload them and describe them, creating a global record of biodiversity. City Nature Challenge is, it activates cities around the world to do iNaturalist. So that's in April, so that's something people may do during Citizen Science Month. It's just sky's the limit with all the amazing citizen science projects that span every sort of scientific discipline, from astronomy to entomology, geology to medical science. It's really so vast. And I know there's the right project for your patrons at your library. So Citizen Science Month is thanks to the generous support of the National Library of Medicine and thanks to great partnerships with the Citizen Science Association, Arizona State's School for the Future of Innovation in Society, and then of course, I'm from the SciStarter team, so we activate a lot of resources with people like you and with friends and partners all over the world. So who are these resources for? They're for institutions, right? They could be for a botanical garden who wants to have an event in April. They could be for a school that wants to have an event in April. It could be for a community group, and maybe the local YMCA is hosting an event, or maybe it's just a club of kids who are hosting an event. It could be for individuals. You can do citizen science on your own. You could activate an online event and celebrate that way. And of course, it's for libraries. As you can see, as Vivian and Robin and Dan described, libraries have been such champions of this effort. And I was amazed to see what they did during Citizen Science Day, and I can't wait to see how they take it to the next level for Citizen Science Month. So we need you. We want you to be part of this effort. So what should you do? So number one, you can sign up for our updates at SciStarter.org/Citizen Science Month FAQ. Of course, this will be in the link bank after. You don't have to worry about taking it down now. But when you sign up for those updates, we'll be in touch with you. And you can also join our optional weekly Citizen Science Month office hours on Thursdays. These are across time zones. We have multiple calls each Thursday, and we do that so anywhere you are in the world, you can dial in, share some ideas, get some feedback, and hear from individuals, other librarians, people in different disciplines about what they're doing to activate citizen science. And of course, once you have an idea of when you're having an event, you can add your event on SciStarter. So you can go to SciStarter.org/Citizen Science Month, click add event, get it listed on there. And then once you add it, you can use SciStarter's People Finder to message everyone with a SciStarter account in your area to invite them to do your event. And I love being able to go through the events at the end of something like Citizen Science Day and see how global this is and how many people are doing real research. So we are responsive to your feedback on those weekly calls. If you have ideas about resources that you want, we will listen to you. If you have ideas about days you want featured in the month, we want you to contribute those now. Now is the time where we can really select projects to organize around. As you can see, City Nature Challenge, the project that we'll be organizing around then is iNaturalist. As you can see, National Library Week's in April. That's perfect. So we can have a special day for librarians to really have collective impact within Citizen Science Month. We have International Dark Sky Week. I mean, you've already heard about Globe at Night. With Globe at Night, all you need to do is go to SciStarter, search it, and you can start contributing to it in your area and start studying the very important problem of light pollution. So this calendar is also going to be in the link bank, so you're going to be able to add comments to it and make your voice heard. Robin mentioned these bookmarks. I think she's found them helpful as people have been stealing her. I see her nodding as people have been stealing her library, the things for her kits to check out. These bookmarks are available for download on SciStarter. So you could download these bookmarks. They're print ready. You can print them for your library. You can have the general bookmark with what is citizen science on one side, and then a project like Globe Observer Clouds, where you ground truth satellite data, which is really important for NASA scientists. Our project like Globe at Night, which we've been talking about, our iNaturalist, our aircasting. These bookmarks are available for you to download and print. And of course, we have other resources too. We have buttons you can download and print. So you could send these buttons to a button shop and get them ready for your library. Robin mentioned the interactive posters. Each year we feature some. So this poster, it's, as you can see, it has a prompt for people, and then they can put sticky notes on it and engage in dialogue with other patrons and with the librarians as well. And then, of course, we have these printable certificates, and they're virtual too. So when you contribute to citizen science projects on SciStarter, you can get a certificate in your dashboard when you could contribute to projects in a certain campaign like Citizen Science Month, or with our affiliate projects, which I'm about to get to in a moment. And then, of course, the Librarian's Guide for Citizen Science. This is constantly in flux. We update this periodically as more resources become available. And it's about 40 pages long, and it contains, it's a quick start guide about the best way to activate citizen science in your library right now. It contains case studies from both Robin's and Vivian's libraries and others. It contains a definition of citizen science, templates for reaching out to community partners if you want to see what other people have done, ideal projects you could do, and even more. I really recommend downloading the Librarian's Guide. And as you're reading it, if you have suggestions where you think, oh, wow, I really wish this was in here, you can hop on one of our weekly calls and let us know, and we can help incorporate your suggestions. So I mentioned SciStarter affiliates. So those are projects where when you do them, the amount of contributions and when you do those contributions is available in your SciStarter dashboard. So I really recommend activating your patrons to do SciStarter affiliate projects, because they can keep track of their contributions across projects and they can get credit for them. So Globe at Night is an affiliate project. Globe Clouds, the NASA project we've been talking about ground truthing satellite data, affiliate projects. So stall catchers, when you classify blood vessels for Alzheimer's researchers to speed up the search for a cure. Nature's Notebook, where you study the seasons. I See Change, where you're examining a changing climate and strange weather. iNaturalist, which we've spoken about, creating a global record of biodiversity, and on and on. All you need to do is go to scistarter.org/finder, and you can search for those SciStarter affiliates and go ahead and get started. The great thing about Citizen Science Month is, sure, you could have a kit program. You could take this to whatever level you want. You could just have a watch party where you decide to watch this show called The Crowd in the Cloud. There's a link to it in the Librarian's Guide, and just introduce people to citizen science that way. You could just have a book display. I think you saw on one of Robin's slides where she had different books about citizen science. There's also a book list in the Librarian's Guide, by the way, not to make another shameless plug for the Librarian's Guide, but you could have a book display, or you could have people come together and do one of these projects that all you need is a smartphone, like iNaturalist, or all you need is a computer, like stall catchers. You could get everyone in the computer lab doing stall catchers. And of course, if you're trying to do a project around Earth Day, I really recommend something like Nature's Notebook or I See Change. Our stream selfie is a great one too. The selfie part's optional. You just have to take the picture of the stream, because this project's trying to assess how healthy our nation's streams are. So it's a United States stream-centric project. And there's Cocoa Raws. You saw the rain gauges earlier. Cocoa Raws is a project that ties into that. So I could go on and on, but I think you get the point. You can scale up our at any scale, do the event that's right for your library that features citizen science, which is real, meaningful research for your patrons. So I put these projects up here because they're great projects that you can do anywhere. So I already mentioned Stream Selfie and Globe at Night. Tree Snap is an interesting one because you're trying to locate threatened trees for scientists to study. So they're trying to assess like what makes some trees healthy and other trees not. So that's a great project too. They give you lots of instructions about how to do that. And then of course, Project Squirrel is a classic. Scientists are trying to better understand squirrel ecology. So you take observations of squirrels and you indicate if they're brown or they're black. And you're helping scientists understand how squirrels vary based on geographic diversity. So as you can see all these links, you just head over to those links on SciStarter and you can go ahead and get started yourself and then activate library patrons to do it too. So this is my follow-up. You can contact me at caroline@scistarter.org. And you're also I'm always on those weekly calls. So you can go ahead and sign up at scistarter.org/Citizen Science Month FAQ. And I'm there to chat with you and share ideas. So thank you so much. And I think I'll turn it over to Brooks for Q&A.
Hey there, hey everybody. Sorry, our internet is just inconveniently had some issues right there. I think we're good now. So if we do have any questions, I think we can try and answer them. I know we're short on time, so if you do have to log off, I would ask that you visit the webinar survey link that Greg just posted in the chat box. You could also go to the webinar certificate if you need that certificate of attendance. So yeah, if we have any questions, we'll take just a few minutes to try and answer those. If you do have to log off, we certainly understand that as well.
And it looks like we have one in the Q&A that hasn't been answered yet. Are libraries able to get access to the costly equipment? For example, should someone want to join the Globe at Night project and not have the money for the photometer, would the libraries be able to lend out those that equipment?
Who wants to take this one? Vivian?
I'll jump on for the Los Angeles Public Library system. Right now, we're testing we're piloting the kit in 16 branches. So yes, you will be able to check out one kit from one of these 16 branches, and we will have this information on our library website very soon. So yes, they will be available to check out. And right now, there's been discussion about how we will be charging patrons with the replacement costs and stuff. So right now, I mean, they are costly, but we're trying to figure out how we can deal with that. But at this point, they are loanable.
And if I can jump in here too, I believe in Arizona, as we are expanding, our state library is offering LSTA grants for libraries that want to be able to purchase their own kits, because it is, you know, we have a grant backing us up that allowed us to make these pilot projects, but libraries will need to find a way to fund them themselves. But LSTA grants is one of the ways that we're moving forward in Arizona.
Yeah, and on that note, Maricopa County Library District thinks this is an important enough initiative that we're just putting our own budget money aside, and we're going to participate in the SciStarter model of build your own kit based on what's already been done, but we're already looking at resources to purchase the same equipment that's found in the kit provided by ASU initially.
And with Globe at Night specifically, the kit is definitely like an awesome element of participating, but you can still participate without the kit and make meaningful contributions as an individual.
Awesome. There's another question. The mosquito habitat mapper program is interesting. Has your library tried this program for adult patrons?
So I'm going to jump in. So when we promote these programs, we promote them primarily as family programs. We do want adults to come in. So when we promote, if it's for children, we always ask them, to recommend to have parents in the room with them. When I run the field test, that was actually one of the requirements. We haven't actually specifically just creating a program just for adults. That will be something we are looking into trying out next year, mainly because right now when we're trying it, it's not really the breeding season for mosquitoes in California at this point. So they won't be able to find any larvae, and it's, we find that might be something that won't be as engaging. So we'll try that for sure in the first quarter next year.
Yeah, and I have a librarian who is very worried about the increase in mosquitoes and the diseases they carry. There has definitely been an upswing in Arizona. She also is going to be promoting it as a family type event with the understanding parents come, but I don't see any problem with providing this to just an adult audience or participants.
And I would say I've done a conference session with somebody from the GLOBE program who was talking about the mosquito identification, habitat mapping, and it was a really, really big success for everybody just to be able to look at some of those larvae and the mosquito and to learn how to actually go about collecting those. So it was very popular with the adults. All right, everybody. And then Donna Blomquist in the chat is saying, we've used Globe Mosquito for families and separate adult programs with good success and participation. So it's good to hear. So everybody, we're a little over our time, so I feel like I do need to wrap things up here. If you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to Caroline. I believe she provided her email, or or you can reach out to me as well. And we're happy to answer any questions that you have. We do have a webinar next week. It's called Full Steam Ahead. So it's, wait, no, it's not. It's called Imagine Your Story with a STEAM twist. So sorry. So it's tying into that 2020 summer reading theme of imagining your story. We're going to talk about some constellation kind of things you could do with that and hear from Luke Kralik from CSLP. So much thanks, many thanks to our guest presenters today. It's always great to hear from librarians on our webinars. If you have any ideas for future webinars, of course, please send those to us. And you will get a survey as soon as you close out of here. And we would love your feedback. So
yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.